Welcome to the Brickstore Museum's recorded tour of collection storage. We're starting today in our exhibition titled Kennebunk's Cultural Heritage, which starts with the story of our indigenous peoples who lived here thousands of years ago, and then continues on into almost present day, up until the 20th century anyway, with our shipbuilding heritage. Here as we walk through, you'll be able to see a lot of different instruments and artifacts that relate to the town's history. And as we walk into this room, one of the first things you see is the oldest piece of furniture in our collection, which is the 1685 Cape and Perkins chest here. You can see the intricate carvings on it. And it was a family heirloom of the two people that are pictured in the portraits sitting above it, and their family, the Perkins family. We also have a great collection of grandfather clocks here at the museum. This one, which is up in our exhibit, runs continuously, and if you're ever here on the hour, you'll be able to hear it ring. It's beautiful. Here we are at the women's history section, which talks a lot about the great women who contributed their time and skill, often quietly, to the history of Kennebunk. Just zoom in on the dress here, which is striped, if you can see the detail. And we talk a lot about our textile arts and the people who really inspired that movement, which the portrait that we passed by of the woman in the blue dress is named Eliza Wilds Bourne, and she ran her own weaving business here in Kennebunk in the early 1800s. That gentleman was William Lord, the builder of the brick store that we're standing in right now, and here is one of his ships that he built, the Mount Washington. Outside our window is the Unitarian Church, which was the first meeting house in Kennebunk that was also present at statehood when the citizens of Kennebunk decided to split off from Wells, as well as when the citizens of Maine decided to split off from Massachusetts. Here are some shipbuilding tools that were used in the shipyards in Kennebunk Port. And then here's just a glimpse of the project we're working on with the high school, which is a three-dimensional model of Kennebunk and how it looked at the turn of the century. Here, you'll see our first storage gallery, which is on the second floor of our second building, which is, if you're looking at the museum buildings from the front, it's the museum building that's directly next to the Brickstore Museum itself. So if you're looking at the white brick building, it's just to the right of it. As you can see, this space has anything you can hold in your hand. So it stretches from kitchen utensils, we have radios, ship models, handkerchiefs, pieces of dresses, as well as fire equipment, fine china, and everything else in between. You might be wondering what these little white tags are on each shelf, and that is the work of our collections department, which consists of two staff members, Catherine Hussey and Leanne Hayden, and a whole collection of volunteers who make sure that each object has a space and a location, so everything is kept in order and you can find it if you're looking for it. Here are some great shipbuilding tools. that we have here in the collection. And as you might be commenting to yourself, it looks like we're running out of room, which museums always are. And that's why we depend on our fantastic volunteers and staff to keep this in such great shape under climate control. One of my favorite things to talk about with people and visitors are our telephone collection, which, as you can see, ranges from the very old-fashioned phones to rotary phones, as well as cell phones, because those will soon become history themselves. One of my absolute favorite stories to tell is in this very small, unassuming box. You'll see this little pint of ashes, basically. And if you didn't see from the box already, it says its collection number, and then it says Ashes from Krakatoa, 1883. And it is, the story goes that a Kennebunk ship captain was sailing past Krakatoa in the South Pacific when it exploded in 1883. That was a volcano. And as the ash rained down upon the ship, he collected it in that little bottle and brought it home. So that's just one tiny way to show that Kennebunk, as well as the rest of the world, is all interconnected, no matter what story you decide to tell. As we walk through looking at different shelving units and the types of items that we have here in the collection, I'll remind you that we have over 70,000 artifacts and archival materials here on the shelves. The shelves that we're looking at right now hold Edith Barry, our founder's collection of travel memorabilia. She was a world traveler in her day. Here's our collection, or some of our collection, of children's toys. At the very bottom we have a Tonka truck. As well as over here we have, again, kitchen instruments and old merchandise. Some of you might recognize the things on these shelves. Here we are in our next storage area, right next to the one that we were just looking at. As you can see, this is a little more dimly lit, but it has a lot of our larger pieces of furniture, traveling trunks, chairs, side tables, a whole mixture of items that are stacked and protected here behind our special window shades, as well as this great shelving that the museum received a couple of years ago to make this all a little more organized. One of my favorite items in the collection is underneath this protective sheet. We'll just take a peek at it. This is a rocking horse from the late 19th century. And you can see he's made of wood and leather or some sort of hide, and he has glass eyes. This belonged to William Barry, who was a local, or became a local historian and architect. We also have a couple strange things in our collection. So the man I just mentioned, William Barry, collected birds and other animals that were stuffed. And you can see our kind of strange arrangement of those pieces kind of back in the corner. We don't bring them out that much. Here we walk into our last collection storage area in the front 4 buildings of our museum. So just to orient you, this is the orange building at the end of our block that's on the corner of Main and Dane Streets. So as you can see, this is where we have our art collection storage. We have rolling racks that mostly fit all of the artworks that we have. As I said before, it's an ever-expanding collection, so it's a ever-changing problem of where to fit things. So here we have wallpaper samples, prints, World War I and II posters, obviously original paintings from local artists, whether they are historic or contemporary. It's a lot of historic people in portraiture here. And as you can see, it really extends all the way back here. As we continue, this table that has several items on it are pieces that we've just received in as donations. So they're being processed now and being assigned accession numbers and cataloged, and will be put away on their distinctive shelves soon enough. This is a wonderful sneak preview of one of the pieces that we've just received for the Bicentennial Art Show, which is coming up starting in June. Local artists have been tasked with creating pieces based on Kennebunk's history or a piece that's already in the collection. So this artist did a wonderful rendition of a photo that was taken by Albion Moody. Here you can see we have sculptural pieces, we have house models. This one is the Brick Store Museum before it was painted white. A lot of these bronze models behind the plastic here were created by Edith Barry, again our museum founder, who was also an artist in her own right. And then of course we have stacks and stacks of George H.W. Bush memorabilia. Again, the portion of our collection that is growing the most is our archival collection, so people bringing in photos or ledgers, diaries, letters, newspapers, or anything in between. So while most of our archival storage is downstairs in this building, it started to creep up, and that's why you can see a lot of these gray boxes that are holding paperwork and other things that are important to the history of our town. Each of these shelves and drawers have posters and prints and various things as well. The last room that you'll see here has our incredible local author and local Maine history collections
for a tiny library that we have up here. And we use it a lot, actually, to refer to historical writings and how people behaved and what their, life advice was, and, what cookbooks suggested. Here you'll see our whole cookbook shelf over here. Some might be recognizable, some are really early, which are always an adventure to read through. Over there in the corner we have our, you'll get a little sneak peek of it. It's the Unitarian Universalist Church across the street. The weather vane that is now housed here in the collection, it's original weather vane, was just returned to us from the conservator, and we'll be putting that on display this summer. You can't see it very well, but this is where we have a lot of our firearms stored. A lot of those firearms come from the Civil War era and before. And we're back where we started for our collection storage tour. So I know that you're wondering why I skipped over things, and you may have some questions about what was on specific shelves. So I encourage you to either email us or put your questions down in the comments, and we would be happy to answer those questions. And if you would like a personal tour of the collection, as a museum member, you are always welcome to simply request one, and we'll be happy to take you through. And then if you are a member of the public that is not a member, we typically run collections tours every Saturday and every Tuesday. Right now we're having those on hold for the moment, but hopefully we'll be able to pick those up continuing into the summer. So we will see you here at some point in the future, and we hope you enjoyed the digital collections tour.